Um, let me see. First on the agenda, we do have a quorum. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion? Hey, Earl.
I move to approve.
Moved by Shay, second by Peter. Is there any discussion? We're talking about approving the minutes from our last meeting. Okay. Any discussion or amendments to our minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. A roll call for those on the Zoom meeting. John?
Aye.
And Fred?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Carrie.
Materials and information about the work that the Island Institute had been doing, because DOT really went into the public hearing with the viewpoint that this bill is completely unnecessary because if we're not moving the ferries, there's no problem with emergency medical services, which, as we know, is not true. This has been an issue for a number of years. And, while overnighting the ferries on the mainland would certainly make this issue harder, it is not the only challenge, especially because this bill included unbridged islands that are not served by Main State Ferry Service. So where Main State Ferry Services has no effect on them. DOT did introduce an amendment that would change who oversees the study from MOCA to the Department of Public Safety, which made the most sense. And some minor, I sent a picture via email, some minor changes. There weren't anything that was too earth shattering, except DOT did try to narrow the study so that it really focused on cost. And to Senator Curry's credit, he did not stand for that and said that he really wanted to make sure that sustainability of island communities was considered in the criteria that was going to be studied. So he caught that and pushed back on it. There is a representative from Portland who would not let go of having Portland Fire and Rescue participate, which is fine, but was very attached to that. And so that's included in the amendment. The committee will review the language and then that amendment will be public and finalized. And so I'll share it with you when it is. We were waiting for Senator Grahowski's bill and Representative Eaton's bills, which are about regulatory oversight of the Main State Ferry Service, to be released from the revisor's office. They have been. They've gathered all the signatures. I saw that Rep. Eaton's bill was referred today, and I anticipated that Senator Grahowski's would be referred today too, but I don't believe it was. Either way, both of those bills, one bill is out and the second should be out on the next session day, which is Tuesday. I have heard speculation that the ferry day could be April 29th, but I have not received confirmation from the chair yet. And so that is, I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything, but that's my legislative roundup.
Great.
That was a lot really quickly. Sorry. Happy to answer questions.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to reiterate what I said at one of the other meetings. Genevieve has done an amazing job, and it's far exceeded what I expected when we went into this. And I just want to thank everybody and thank Genevieve for her hard work.
Oh, thank you so much. And this committee just let out, so I have to go. Oh, no, hold on. But they're done with this bill, right?
Yes.
Okay, I have to go speak. Thank you, and I will talk to you soon. Happy to follow up via email.
Thank you for being here. So with that, we have a potential tentative ferry date. It looks like on the 29th, so relatively soon. What day of the week is the 29th? Tuesday. Okay, so it's coming up in a little more than a week. There are bills about the emergency response, about creating a new oversight committee, about giving additional authority to the advisory board. We don't have all the final drafts yet, but we're very close. And so I think I would suggest that we have another meeting in 1 week when we have all the legislation and we can try to come to a consensus about things that we support. And although it might be worth reaching out, I think, to interested parties before that. Once we know when the ferry date is going to be, we probably ought to let the town know as soon as we have that date. So people who want to be involved in the process and show up in person can do that. And then we can work towards establishing a consensus about how everybody feels about the various pieces of legislation that are up for consideration. And so we can talk about some of that right now. I think I'm happy to hear that the study to evaluate emergency response on unbridged islands is going forward. I think that at the very least inform future legislation and perhaps our own position in terms of what we make and ask for in the future. So I think that'll be good. Still, I'm curious about the various oversight bills, which I think are, it's interesting to give more authority or at least more consultation to the advisory boards. It's also another thing to create another advisory board with another board above the advisory board with more authority. So I don't have an opinion, or I don't have I guess I don't have an opinion on either of those at this point. I'm still waiting for the others to come be finalized before really thinking about what I personally want to support. But if anybody wants to talk about bills right now, we can, or we can push that for another week until we have everything and discuss it then.
Push it for another week.
It seems like we don't have information to
Yeah, I think
do too much.
so. I think we move forward with that in a week, or, depending on if something happens in a hurry that we should talk about, we can coordinate via email and set a meeting sooner than 1 week from today. But otherwise, I would propose we set a meeting a week from today and proceed with that, with hopefully having all the information we can to have a more thorough discussion about legislation and what
Did
we're
we know some of the things I wonder about is federal funding and how that's going to impact various things.
Well,
What's
seems,
up in the air?
yeah, there's a lot up in the air right now in terms of new boat construction and all federal projects, I think. So there are definitely questions about that are going to impact the ferry service as well as Maine DOT as a whole, which impacts the ferry service, I think. So anybody else have any, Fred or John, do you guys want to chime in from the Zoom call?
I just have one question. Has there been any discussion on the island or amongst you folks as to why LD 841 switched this from the main office of community affairs to the Department of Public Safety at the request of DOT, apparently?
So Genevieve just spoke to that and said that was a request made by the DOT, thinking that they were in a better position to conduct that study. But I don't think it was anything other than feeling like they were in a better position to conduct the study.
All right. I'm just going to follow up with an email to Genevieve because I don't want to think there's a commie under every rock, but I'm wondering why they wanted to do that. It may be totally neutral, but who knows?
Yeah. Fred, do you have any questions or thoughts before we move on?
No, I just wanted to, I don't know if it's the appropriate time or not, just give you an update on what's been going on the Western Front with the ambulance and the ferry boat.
Sure.
We've had a total of 3 runs now after hours, and we have not had any problems getting the ferry crews to run for us. It's been a good joint partnership that we've had going recently, and I hope that it continues because we need them, and there's going to be a time when they're going to need us. So I feel positive about the direction everything's been working in on our level.
Great, thanks for that update, Fred. Anybody from the public have any comments or questions? Hearing none, I guess we've agreed to set a meeting for a week from today. And does anybody have an objection to the same time, 4:30 in 1 week?
This room is already booked from 4 to 5:30 by the Lighthouse Committee.
Hmm.
We couldn't do it at public safety, could we, Carrie? Where we'd be right around that tables closer. We use it for hybrid meetings for our EMS meetings, and it usually sounds okay. We could do it over there if you decide you want to.
Okay,
So want to just do it at the public safety room then? Does that work, Carrie?
sure.
Great. Well,
There's a Zoom capability there so that Genevieve could join us and
Oh, I
other
see.
members of the public and committee members.
Yeah,
great.
Okay.
It's a plan. Same time, different place, but only slightly different. We'll be at the public safety.
Sounds good.
All right, anything else before we adjourn?
What was that date?
It is the 24th.
24.
No.
Yeah, no problem.
Just anticipating, I think we'll have more work to do quickly after the meeting on the 24th, but just recognizing Bruce Van's notes, comments to the North Haven Select Board. I don't know how many people saw that.
I didn't,
Yeah, you go.
I just, basically, somehow Bruce Van Note was able to call into a North Haven Select Board meeting. They asked him a series of questions about where he stood on this issue, and he said, I plan to use Islesboro as a test case to see if it works, and would not propose other communities if it didn't work, but we'll wait and see how it goes with Islesboro. And
that's keeping the ferry, you mean?
keeping the ferry on the mainland, so.
Okay,
Anyway, all that's just to say that I feel like we, I think we'll want to make sure that we can rally other island communities, which I don't think will be an issue, but.
I think it will be easy to get everybody on board with that because the writing is on the wall
Yeah.
about where that heads.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
So moved.
Moved by Earl, second by John, all in favor? Aye.
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 Thanks, everybody. Happy
Thank you.
Thursday.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Gabe. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you for keeping it short and sweet.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, it's